In this lecture, we will start to look at inheritance, which is a very important concept in object-oriented programming. So in the real world, you can find many objects that are specialized version of other more general objects. For example, the term insect describes a general type of creature with various characteristics. Because grasshoppers and bumblebees are insects, they all have the general characteristic of an insect. In addition, they have special characteristics of their own. For example, grasshoppers can jump and bumblebees can sting. And grasshoppers and bumblebees are specialized version of a insect. And this is illustrated in this figure here. So both bumblebee and grasshoppers are insects. So they share the same common characteristic of insects, like they all have 6 legs. And in addition to these common insect characteristics, the bumblebees can sting, which is its unique characteristic. Grasshoppers can jump, which is grasshopper's unique characteristic. And this is relationship between the insect and these two specialized version of insect is what we call inheritance. Inheritance is actually a is-a relationship. So when an object is a specialized version of another object, there exists this is-a relationship between them. For example, a poodle is a dog, a car is a vehicle, a flower is a plant, a rectangle is a shape, and a daisy is a flower. So the specialized object has all the characteristic of the general object plus its own unique characteristics. So we use a concept called inheritance to create this is-a relationship between classes. And the inheritance in object-oriented programming involves 2 classes, a superclass and a subclass. The superclass is the general class and the subclass is the specialized class. You can think of the subclass as an extended version of the superclass. The subclass inherits attributes and methods from the superclass without any of them having to be rewritten. And also the new attributes and the methods may be added to the subclass. And that is what makes this subclass a specialized version of the superclass. So for example, the example we have seen before, the vehicle or the automobile class. So if we want to create a car class, a pickup truck class, and the SUV class, we can think of all these 3 inherits the automobile class. That is because all these 3 types of cars, they are automobiles. A car is an automobile. A pickup truck is an automobile. An SUV is an automobile. As an automobile, all these objects have make, year, model, mileage, price, and some other common characteristics. However, all these objects also have their own unique characteristics. And the common characteristics can be the attributes for the base class. And the unique characteristics can be the attributes for the subclass. For example, a car class, its unique characteristic is the number of doors. Pickup truck class, its unique characteristic is the drive type. SUV class has the unique characteristic of the passenger capacity. So these can be the attributes added to the subclass. So in writing a program in Python to represent an inheritance relationship between 2 classes, we use this kind of format. When we define a class, for example, car, we say this car class inherits the automobile class. So the superclass will be put into a parenthesis right after the subclass name. And one more thing that you need to do is that in the subclass initializer method, which is the underscore init underscore. So in that initializer method of the subclass, you need to call the initializer method of the superclass and then initializes the unique characteristic or the unique data attributes of the subclass. And also in the subclass, you can add method definitions for the unique methods. Now let's take a look at an example of the code. So the automobile class is the superclass, which has its own initializer method to initialize the make, model, year. These are the common attributes for all the automobile objects. And SUV class is the subclass. An SUV object inherits the automobile class, or an SUV object is an automobile. So that's the is a relationship. And we represent the inheritance in this format by putting the superclass name in the parentheses after the subclass SUV. And in the initializer method of this SUV class, we need to initialize the superclass first by calling the init method of the automobile class, passing in the common attributes make, model, year, which is passed in here. And besides these three common attributes, SUV also has its own unique characteristic, which is the passenger capacity, which is initialized in the initializer method of the SUV class. So an object can be created, and an SUV object can be created this way. When an SUV object is being created, automatically an object of automobile class will be created. And also in the SUV class, which is the subclass, it has its own methods: set passenger capacity, get passenger capacity, and these methods are the unique methods of the SUV class. And one more thing we need to pay attention to is, although we don't see get make, set make in the SUV class, the SUV class automatically inherits these two methods, so we can use them directly. So, for example, in the main method, an SUV object is created by passing in the make, model, year, and also the passenger capacity. So the SUV object that's created is then used to call the getMake method. So although the getMake method is not defined here, but we can use it here because the SUV class inherits the automobile class. So this is an example of an inheritance with the superclass, the subclass, and how the initializer works and how the inheritance works.